Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay and welcome to my upstairs room. Now, as you may have seen from my video on Saturday, I've actually done a grade 2 tear of my calf, so it looks like I'm going to be out for 6 weeks minimum. So at the moment my rather narrow foot on the left is accompanied by a rather wide foot on the right, and can't actually seem to get into any of my shoes at the moment, so that's stopping me from running even if I wanted to. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is all these carbon fibre plate shoes and how difficult seem they are to get. There's two problems I find with carbon fibre racing shoes: is A, finding them in the first place, and then B, finding them in my size. I should leave my rant about not being able to get the large sizes to another time, but we'll just talk about how difficult it is to get hold of these shoes. And then perhaps ponder what actually is the reasoning of the shoe companies, and is there actually maybe a bit of a overhyping of these shoes, and then there isn't actually that much of a demand for them after all. So for instance, here is a few of them I've got on over here. I've got the Alphaflys, which I kind of feel like I was lucky to pick up. I think I was just browsing one of the sports shoes sites about midnight one day, just happened to pick up them. Next percent found a bit easier to get over the months, but I have been buying them now for the last 12 months and using them. The Adizero Pro, that took me ages to get hold of. I think I missed it about 4 times, and when I did get it, you might think, oh, what was I waiting for? So it wasn't the most exciting of shoes, I have to say. And then the Endorphin Speed here, which isn't really even one of the carbon fibre plate ones shoes, it's all like their second one behind the Pro. I had to get that from America. So what I thought I would look at is what actually are the sales of these shoes. Obviously the shoe companies aren't going to tell us exactly how many they've sold, but what they do on their websites is they list their shoes in the order of like bestsellers. So I thought we'd have a look on some of the well-known websites and see which ones are the best sellers, and then see where the carbon fibre plate ones come, and to see, you know, how much are they actually playing these shoes. So you'd have thought, wouldn't it, originally Nike sold all these 4%, then Next percents, then Alphafly, now the Tempo Next percents. All these other companies must think, oh great, all we need to do is to come up with their own shoe, and pretty much all of them have now, and we'll sell an absolute packet of them. But then you find that they're just as bad. They put out a release with about 4 pairs in it. It sells out within about 10 seconds, and you have to wait about another month for the same thing to happen again. So what exactly are they playing at? Are they thinking that these shoes really aren't that exciting and nobody wants to buy them? They can't surely be making any money if they're only selling about 4 at a time. My theory is that they're actually wanting to just push these as like lost leaders, and they almost generate hype for a brand without actually having to do any work. So when we look at these websites in a set, you probably see that to a certain extent they're not actually that interested at all in telling you what the latest carbon fibre plate shoe is, because they're far more interested in selling you the shoes that they think that they're going to sell most of. So here we are on the Adidas website and on the men's running shoe page by top sellers, and as you can see, heavily dominated by the UltraBoost. In fact, in the UltraBoost 20, we've got no less than 26 colours in it, and when I looked up, they've got sizes from 3.5 UK all the way up to size 17. So well past the 12.5 that they stock in the Adizero shoes. There's a couple of shoes I've not even heard of here in their top-selling front row. You've got the X9000 L3 and the X9000 4D. Let's have a quick look at this one. Don't think any one of the shoe reviewers has reviewed it. One thing I instantly noticed that is rather attractive for me, they've actually got the elusive Adidas size UK 13 and 13.5. So they don't do UK 13 in any running shoe that I've seen before, but they do in this one for some reason. I looked at the reviews of this one. It seems more like a bit of like a cross between a lifestyle shoe and a running shoe. You say there it's a running shoe, but they're £170. There seems to be an awful lot of people that buy this to walk around in or stand around in all day. So interesting one, but I just have to see whether someone will review this and see if it's worth getting. But this 4D material, I think, is an alternative to the Boost. Anyway, as I say, the compelling thing is that they do far more sizes in this one than they do in the Adizero Pro or the Adios Pro. So they presumably think they're going to sell far more of these ones than they are of the carbon fibre plate shoes. So scrolling down the men's best-selling shoe list, we see yet more versions of the UltraBoost. I'm looking to see whether there's any sign of the Adizero Pro or the Adios Pro. I guess we won't see the Adios Pro because they've literally seem to have made a few pairs, sold out a few times, and no sign of that. Though I have seen no more versions of the Adizero Pro. But are they actually showing that as a shoe that people are actually wanting to buy? Can't see it on the first page. Let's see if we can go to the second page of the best-selling shoe list. Oh, there we go. So it's on the first row of the second page of best-selling shoes. That's the Adizero Pro. So now it looks like they've managed to offer that one in 5 colorways, which is interesting because initially they could only seem to do that in one colorway in about 4 pairs, I think they had in my UK 12.5 when I actually managed to pick one up. So just an illustration, I think, that if these companies really do want to make these shoes, then they can, because Adidas have now come up with 5 colorways. Is that a shoe perhaps initially hyped, and then when it came out, people were a bit disappointed with it generally, and now it looks like they've actually got some stock to sell. But the Adios Pro, which perhaps have got the better reviews, of course, they've sold out of that one, and no indication when it will be coming back anytime soon. So here we are, the women's version of the Adidas best-selling list, and it's pretty similar actually. You've got the UltraBoost at the top there. In fact, they're all UltraBoost here, apart from one shoe, which is more like a walking shoe. So if we scroll down, is there any sign of the Adios Pro or the Adizero Pro? Then basically no. If Adidas want you to buy the Adizero Pro, they're not exactly making it too obvious that they're a best-selling shoe. So moving along to another company, this time we've got Brooks, and Brooks have conveniently got their men's and women's best-selling list on the same page. It saves them bother of having to go to 2 different ones to check them all out. And the first thing you notice is that the Ghost 13 seems to be their top shoe for women, and maybe first or second for men, but certainly the Ghost 13 is the one that appears most prominent, with the Adrenaline GTS 20 there as well. Now, Brooks are pretty well known for doing sort of max cushioned shoes with some stability versions. I think Ghost 13 is their sort of neutral max cushion shoe. I had the Ghost 9 for a while. Another advantage of that, as well as the load of colorways that they're doing here, is that they do them in different widths, and I managed to pick up a narrow version of the Ghost 9 before. I found it just a bit too much shoe for me, I think, just a bit too much. I think I preferred a slightly lighter one. But that's kind of what Brooks is pushing you to buy. So there's the Adrenaline and the women's shoe. So the Ghost 13 and the Adrenaline definitely seem to be their 2 big ones. And what else have they got? Like even a previous version of the Ghost, you've got the Glycerine, Cascadia, Levitate. Where's the sign? So where are the Hyperion Elite 2 and the Hyperion Tempo? Well, not on the first page for sure. So scrolling down a bit further, still no sign of the Hyperion Tempo or Hyperion Elite 2, is it? So again, another shoe company that are sort of competing with Nike, and the Hyperion Elite 2, I got that one and unfortunately sent it back. That was partly because it was not the right size, so a bit of a bugbear that they went up to a 12. Well, so if you go all the way back to the Ghost, what sizes are they offering the Ghost in? Yeah, so they're offering the Ghost up to a UK 14, so they obviously think that people with a big foot only want to wear max cushion shoes. It looks like Brooks are doing no better in putting forward their sort of super shoes, as it were. You kind of think, well, actually, are they that super at all? Because they don't seem to be overly wanting to sell you one, do they? So moving along to New Balance, is it any different with New Balance? Well, it doesn't appear to be. You've got the top selling shoes here. You've got the 1080 V10 as well up there. That's the only one I've actually got of these ones. Not a bad shoe to be honest. There's an everyday shoe. And you've got a new one here, the 860. And I see the 880 is in there as well. The Rishi, I'm not really familiar with that one. It's a new one. It's a GTX version. I might have to check that one out actually. But I think when I checked this out before, they only went up to 12.5. So typically, all the shoes that you think interesting don't come in my size. But again, there's no sign of the TC or the RC Elite here, is there? So if we scroll down, oh, there's the TC. So well down the pecking order. And is there any sign of the RC Elite? Well, no, don't think so. So again, another example where these shoe companies have got these super shoes out. The RC Elite's only just come out, and the TC has been around a while. But yeah, are people actually really that interested in these shoes? Because according to their bestseller list, it's well down the pecking order, isn't it? So maybe that's why they're in such short supply. People just aren't actually that interested in them in general terms. Just checking the women's list to see if there's any difference here. Not really. You've got the 1080 V10, the 860, the 880, the Rishi. You've got a 680 there as well. Again, no sign of the TC or the RC Elite in the best-selling list. Well, there's the TC again, sort of similarly quite a few rows down. So moving along to HOKA, what do we see on their best-selling list? We've got the Clifton 7, the Bondi 7, Clifton Edge, and the Rincon. Perhaps the Rincon is the most sort of racy of that list. I think the Clifton and the Bondi are very much their sort of top-end max cushion shoes. Although we do see the Carbon X coming there at 6th place, so it's a bit more prominent than perhaps some of the other shoes, but still fairly well done the pecking order. And the Carbon X is actually quite an old shoe, so I think the Rocket X is about to come out soon, so maybe that will get more attention. But I think another example where these carbon fibre plate ones aren't really hitting the mark in terms of what they're actually selling. And whether they're actually offering enough to actually hit the bestseller list is another matter. But just checking the women's best-selling list for HOKA, and again, it's a pretty similar story. We've got the Bondi, Clifton, although the Carbon X Special, interestingly, does come on the top row there. So again, it's really dominated initially by the max cushion offerings, but at least with HOKA and the women, the Carbon X, one of the versions of the Carbon X does feature on their top row of best-selling shoes. So moving on to ASICS and their best-selling shoe list. Well, you think, oh, there's a lot of different versions here. Well, actually, when you look at it closely, you've just got the Gel-Kayano 27, the Gel-Cumulus 22, and basically a load of different variants of the same shoe. So their entire first page is all that's hitting you is some max cushion shoe. I forget which one is which. I think the Gel-Kayano is kind of their stability shoe, and the Gel-Cumulus maybe is their neutral one. I can't really honestly remember, but never shoes that particularly have excited me. But these are the ones that apparently that people want, or at least they're buying anyway. So with the METARACER, I saw that there was a drop of them that came out the other day, but by the time I'd already looked, the size 12 that I would have wanted was already gone. Unfortunately, I did manage to pick up a pair of them eventually, but you know, if they're wanting to sell METARACERs, they seem to make so few of them. But yeah, they can offer all these versions of the Gel-Kayano. Let's see how many colorways they've got the Gel-Kayano. So it looks like we've got 7 versions of the Gel-Kayano, and we've got sizes from 5 up all the way up to 15. So they've got 3 more sizes than they do in the METARACER. The METARACER stops at a 12, which fortunately is just about okay for me actually. 13 I think would be a bit big, but another example of the other problem that us big feet runners have, that they're offered these max cushion shoes in very large sizes, but they don't think that people want to race in them. So if we scroll down the ASICS best-selling shoe page, do we actually come to any shoe that looks like vaguely like a racer shoe? Well, we've got the Gel Noosa Tri here, which is sort of a racy type shoe, and we've got the Dynablast, which is probably more in your tempo category, but no sign of the METARACER. And even the Nova Blast, which has got rave reviews from all the shoe tubers, this only makes the 2nd page of best-selling shoe list. So it's kind of odd how the perception between the sort of most hype shoes amongst sort of shoe reviewers and what actually people seem to buy seems to be totally different in some respects. I think I could be scrolling a long time before I find the METARACER. I think my last set there's only literally 1 size left, so you wonder how many they made again this time. Can't believe they made too many, because the shoe's been around a few months now. I think most people, if they really wanted one, would have got one by now. So I think they are just sort of literally coming out with a few pairs and then selling out so quick. It begs the question of, do they actually think that shoe's not worth putting too much effort into? We'll just put out a few for the sake of it, but really we want to push these sort of Gel-Kayano type shoes as our top seller. So that's what ASICS is all about. So if we have a look at the women to see if there's a difference there, well, not really. We've got the Gel-Cumulus on the top, and we've got the Gel-Kayano as well. So it's the same 2 shoes that are dominating both the men and the women. And scrolling down, absolutely no sign of the METARACER. So moving along to Saucony and the Endorphin Speed, Endorphin Pro and the Endorphin Shift, they're probably the 3 most raved about shoes of this year, but certainly the Speed and the Pro are. And if you look at the list here again, no sign of any 3 of them on the men's list. Top selling shoe, according to Saucony at the moment, is the Ride 13. This is a shoe that I've actually heard of for a change. If we scroll down, where's the first sign of the Endorphin shoe? There's the Endorphin Shift, which is probably the least sexy shoe of the 3, being the sort of max cushion one of the 3 shoes. The Speed and the Pro have been very hard to get off as well, but had such good reviews that people seemingly want to buy them. But do they? Because there's the Endorphin Speed, but right down the bottom of their best-selling shoe list.
and the Pro's not in there at all. So again, another example where you think, well, a shoe that apparently is, in fact, you've got an editor's choice there. So Saucony have even said this is like a badge of honor on this shoe, and yet, in relative terms, no one seems to be buying it. But is that because they just aren't making enough? And think, well, why would they not make enough of a shoe that people seem to want to buy? What's the rationale? And how can this shoe be so difficult to make? There's not even any carbon fibre in this Endorphin Speed one. So yeah, it's really puzzling. What is the strategy of these companies? They're onto a winner, yet they don't seem to want to actually make enough to actually sell any. So how are they going to make any money, these people? Or in actual fact, is this all a ruse? And in fact, people actually want to buy all these ones at the top, and there's so much effort into making these Endorphin type shoes that it was all about marketing and not actually about actual sales. They're all just really ways to get you on here and push the shoes that they really want you to buy. But yeah, these shoes aren't any cheaper. I mean, £125, £130, £135 for the best sellers. And the Endorphin line is only a bit more, so it's not exactly saving a great deal here. If we look at the women's best-selling list for Saucony, well, we do see the Endorphin Speed on the front row, so it's a hype shoe in terms of what YouTubers look at. And it's actually the first one I've seen that's right in your face with the Endorphin shift there as well. No sign of the Pro though, unfortunately. And interestingly, the Ride 13 is quite a long way down. So interesting whether, if these figures are really correct, that the men's most popular shoe is the Ride 13, and yet the women, it's well down the pecking order. So do the women know something that we don't, us men, know about the Endorphin Speed being a shoe that they actually do buy, and maybe Saucony make enough of them to actually have it up on their list as well. So last but by no means least in the best-selling shoe category, here's the Nike best-selling running page for men. In fact, they've only actually got 2 shoes. You never know with Nike whether the best-selling list really is the shoes they most want to throw in your face. But interestingly, the Tempo Next percent, which had rather mixed reviews, is there. Now that initially was quite hard to get hold of, but already I see that they're offering 3 colorways in it. So clearly they think, well, they must have made enough of these to think that they were selling 3 colorways, because they don't offer 3 colorways at the same time as the Next percent on the Alphafly. And then we've got their sort of most popular running line, the Pegasus 37. So it shows 1 color there. I think if I scroll through to this, yeah, you've actually got 12 different standard colorways and a way to design your own. So again, clearly shows that if Nike put their mind to it, they can make a boatload of shoes in 1 model. If we look at the women's best-selling running page, it's actually offering a few more models here, although the 2 models on the men's are definitely in your face. So they've got a slight sort of swap of pecking order. Whether this really believe this or not, you're not quite sure. But for women, the Pegasus 37 is the one that's shown most prominently, with the Tempo Next percent third. And we've got in the middle a sort of fairly budget shoe for just under £60. The Nike Flex Experience Run 9. I can't say we've even heard of that one. And then we've got another version of the Pegasus 37. Interestingly, the Pegasus 36 Gore-Tex edition. Not sure why that's coming out as the best-selling one. But you certainly believe that the Pegasus 37 and Tempo Next percent would be. But again, it's sort of showing on their best-selling page. If they wanted to throw this page at you, then no sign of the Vaporfly NEXT percent or the Alphafly on either the page for the men or women. And yet, when they come out, they seem to sell out within minutes. So again, you think, well, Nike perhaps can get away with it because, they probably are the shoes that all the runners want to buy. But all these other companies, what are they up to? They think they're onto a winner. They're not making enough shoes, but they can seemingly make enough shoes and all these other types of shoes that they want to sell. Is actually the sales of these super shoes actually a lot less than we think, and they're just really lost leaders. They want you to sort of look at them and think, oh, I'll go and buy one of the max stability shoes at the same time when I'm on the website. Maybe it's about £20 cheaper. Or is there some sort of thinking they're just trying to copy Nike that by having a very limited supply in the marketplace, they'll be more hyped up and they can command a higher price. But that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Because they surely can't be selling that much, because we've been to all these different shoe pages, and these super shoes in inverted commas are nowhere to be seen on their best-selling list. So they can't be making any money out of them, surely, on sales, because they just aren't making enough of them for people to buy. Question is, if they made enough of shoes like the Pegasus 37, would people buy them anyway? They may not be able to command such high price, but and maybe they think that having a lot of empty stock of a super shoe doesn't make the shoe a super shoe. But you know, again, I think Nike perhaps can think that, because that's kind of what everyone else is trying to catch up to. But why all the other shoe companies seemingly copying that model? I can't honestly believe they have difficulty in actually making these shoes, because as you can see, like the Adizero Pro, the Adidas, they've already come up with 5 colorways. Carbon X seems to be sort of generally available these days. So these ones, after a while, they do seem to come out. So anyway, so I hope you found this interesting. I'm not sure that I'm really any of the wiser to the fact that the best-selling shoes, according to each of the vendors, aren't the shoes that perhaps we might think they are. And they are perhaps the more sort of boring and inverted commas everyday type max cushion shoes that probably at the end of the day most runners have always reached for, and I think every runner is going to need a few of those pairs in your arsenal. So maybe that's why they are top selling, because every runner needs shoes to wear in every day, and you can't wear your racing shoes every day. And yet when you come a race day, well, if they ever exist, then you still seem to see most people in Nike ones. So interesting to see on the feet of races to come in the next year or two whether that distribution will spread out. But if that is the case, I think these other companies need to make a lot more shoes so that people can actually buy them. Otherwise, I think they'll just wait for the next Nike drop to come out. Anyway, so I hope you found this interesting, and subscribe if you do. I'm sort of hoping to get towards 1,000 subscribers, well, certainly by the end of the year. I think I'm heading up towards 900 as my next target, so I'm not quite sure what little thing I'm going to do to mark the occasion, assuming I get there, because I can't run. I'm probably got another 2 months, I think, until I'm going to be back to sort of any sort of running, maybe 6 weeks if I'm lucky. But even my physio, who's always sort of telling me to go out and try a run, was saying this could be a bit of a long haul. So I think I have to try and do a bit of swimming. And I tried to get on the bike last night, and I couldn't get my shoe on, and I had to sort of had one cycle shoe on my left foot, which is my OK foot, and then the right shoe I had a Pegasus 37 on, and just to sort of put on top of my pedal. I managed to do about a mile, so mile cycling. So yeah, how the mighty have fallen. Anyway, hope you found this interesting, and look forward to seeing the next one then. Bye.